The CGA Tour, a podcast unlike any other. Now your host, Calvin Alexander.
Hey Cowboy fans, today's episode is brought to you by Oakley Burklow, your go-to independent insurance agent and proud OSU alum. Oakley helps with home, auto, life, and business insurance, working with multiple top-rated insurance companies to find you the right coverage at the right price. Licensed in Oklahoma and Arkansas. Call 918-280-9068 or email oakley.burklow@connectmyinsurance.com. Personal service, honest advice, and a fellow poke helping you protect what matters most.
Welcome back to the latest episode of the CGA Tour podcast, the Calvin Glen Alexander. And tonight's episode here, I'm joined by Tyler Teabag Adams from the Sports Animal. Tyler, thanks so much for joining here. How's it going?
Oh, it's going good. I'm excited to be here, ready to talk some Pokes football.
Should be good. Yeah, well, looking forward to the good season here upcoming. It's got
Hopefully.
One would think, but basically I want to ask you here, one, how'd you get the nickname Teabag, if you don't mind me asking?
It's the number one question. The number one question, or the top two questions I get from work at the Sports Animal is, it's probably 1A, 1B. It's how'd you get the nickname Teabag, and what's Jim Traber actually like? So with the Teabag, I replaced Q-Tip. Q-Tip took another job. He left the media industry altogether. And whenever I came in, they're just calling me New Tip for a while. I'm like, we got to find you a better nickname. And so after the show, I do post-production work. We call it the bullpen area. There's 4 computers over there. It's just for producers and hosts, to use, the computers for post-production, pre-production, whatever you want to do. It just has all the technology, you need to run a radio station. And so me and Spinozzi sit out there after every show for about an hour or two and do some work together. And Spinozzi always drinks hot tea after the show. And he was like, hey, will you go give me a tea bag? And then he snaps his fingers like, that's it, tea bag. And I was like, all right, if that's what we're going with. And they made sure to ask my mom first to make sure that's okay that her son is being called Teabag on the radio. She didn't really know what it meant. She thought like actual teabag, like what Spinozzi is asking for, when obviously, that's technically what it means, but there's dirtier versions behind it. It took her a while to kind of figure out that wasn't that nice, but it stuck, and we're sticking with it. Can't switch now.
Yeah, you never choose your own nickname, right? So
yeah.
It's always the way it works out here.
Only Kobe Bryant can choose his own nickname.
Exactly. He's able to. I think he's earned the right. Well, I will want to ask you here, of course, about the off season, Oklahoma State football kind of vibes, feeling wise coming into this season with the multiple quarterbacks. Of course, another era where Gundy doesn't choose a quarterback before game one. Not that I think he will let us know before, and we may see 2, 3. However many quarterbacks here. Could get Sam Jackson back there behind center too, or another touchdown pass to Boone Pickens. But what are your kind of thoughts here on the offseason and Cowboy football for 2025?
I mean, where to begin? I think I just checked out. I remember after the Arizona State game, which we knew going into the Arizona State game that Arizona was good. I don't think we knew they were, Big 12 champion, one play away from winning a college football playoff game against Texas. We didn't think they were that good, but we knew that they were good, obviously better than OSU. I was optimistic going to that game, like, all right, they're going to get this one. They have to. It's homecoming. They've beaten Arizona State the last 2 years. Like, they're better than Arizona State. They have to get this one. Obviously, that did not turn out to be the case. And I just remember sitting, I was doing pre and post game with Gideon Hamilton that day. And I just remember sitting in the trailer outside Espo Joe's where we do the show, watching the fourth quarter after the rain delay. And I remember just looking and I was like, I'm done. Like, this team can't make me happy. This team can't make me mad. Like, I'm checked out. I'm done. And I kind of felt that way for a while, probably until the Mike Gundy dilemma in December, where that made me once again feel feelings about OSU, because I know OSU fan base, there's, I don't want to say it's 50-50. I think it's more of a loud minority that wants Mike Gundy fired. I think it's probably 30% or less of the fan base that's not on the Mike Gundy. At least give him one more chance train. Now, if he fails again this season, we need to have some conversations. But I was always like, you have to give him, another year. He's earned the right for another year. That's how I felt. And then that day in December happened where, Pete Thamel puts out Mike Gundy's job is in serious jeopardy, whatever the words were. And I just remember I was all over the place. I was texting everyone I knew. I was texting some former players that I knew that were no longer on the team. They graduated by then, but I was like, what do you guys know? Have you guys talked to anyone? Like, I was trying to get any dudes. I'm like, dude, no one knows. And luckily Mike Gundy stayed, which I think was the right decision. And then obviously we saw the clean house in coaching. And I stayed just kind of level-headed through that. I was excited for the coaching changes. I think the assistant coaches got very complacent. Last offseason, kind of from everything I heard, it was just going through the motions instead of actually trying to go for it. It was just kind of like, all right, hey, we win 9 or 10 games every year. We're going to do that again this year. It's what obviously did not turn out to be the case. I think they needed some young guns in there, which they got. But I got excited during the portal and stuff, but I've stayed level-headed. And I think the Thunder helped with that, watching the Thunder playoff run, watching them all season, that kind of took over. But man, July 1st hit, and I don't know if it was, like I said, the Thunder was done and football was on the horizon. I'm now just getting delusional about everything. I'm all in on this coaching staff. I'm all in on Gundy and the way he's going about things now. And the way, he's kind of switched his tune. I'm going to turn on the light real quick in there. And I mean, so you got the transfer portal additions. We'll talk about quarterback, I'm sure. I don't know who's going to be the quarterback, but I suspect that they're going to be at least decent. Like, they're going to be at least decent at the bare minimum. They're going to be better than what Alan Bowman or Milwaukee Smith were last year. So I've remained level-headed throughout this whole time because, like I said, I checked out after the I was really mad the first 7 or 8 weeks of the season. I was like, what the hell is this? This is pathetic. Arizona State game happened, checked out. Did not, emotionless in the whole thing. And now I'm just becoming delusional again, which I think as a college football fan, I think that's what you're supposed to do, right?
Yeah, you would think so. I mean, I had a glimmer of hope. Hey, we had the rain delay homecoming game.
Yeah.
Going to go in there, give us the classic, like, all right, here's the rah-rah.
They're going to change their socks. They're going to be more dry in Arizona State.
Wear bigger cleat studs, the whole thing. They're going to really defeat the wetness and come back out and just roll them. This Arizona State team was supposed to finish last. We're, going to contend for Big 12 championship game. That's what we were doing last year. And just, 56-14 is enough for me to go, that's the season. Cool. I'm done. But yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm excited. There's new quarterbacks. It's not going to be an 8th-year Alan Bowman behind center, and it's also going to be guys, no matter what, who look like they can be mobile and run away from guys maybe here and there. I'm not saying anyone's quick enough to do much, but maybe they've got quicker than the cop speed. We know Baker Mayfield doesn't have that. So I always got to run the OU disc whenever I can. But I want to ask you, would you rather have Zane start at this point? He's been around the roster for so long. Is there kind of like a leaning towards Hauss because he came with Meacham? Is there any kind of line there?
Dude, I am so split.
Yeah.
There's pros and cons to each. So with Zane, he chose Oklahoma State as a 4-star recruit out of Nebraska. He stuck around when he didn't have to, especially after last season. And I know he was hurt last season. Like, a lot of people are like, he didn't get a chance this year. It's like, he was hurt. Like, he would have got a chance if he was healthy. But he could have left after last season. So there's the pros of that. And then, I just want to watch, and we will watch him play football, even if he's not the starter this year. We'll see him take snaps, especially in that UT Mark game. So there's that where like you want him to be the guy, but then again, Hauss Haiti, number one, great name, just absolutely fantastic name, Hauss Haiti. And then sounds like, everything I've heard, it sounds like this guy like might be the fastest guy on the team. Like, I've heard from someone that's been around very close with the program that says he's not as athletic as Kyler Murray, but if you're to line them up in a straight line, it might be neck and neck in speed. They'll say, now he may not have the agility to where he can shake like Kyler Murray could and juke people, because that was one of one. But 100-yard dash line to line, like he could be up there with like that kind of speed. He's that fast. and he doesn't look like it. I'll believe it when I see it. I'll believe it when I see it with that kind of speed, because Kyler Murray we saw how fast that guy. I mean, was different level speed. So that sounds exciting. Zane doesn't have that speed or mobility. The Hauss doesn't have the arm talent that Zane has. So it's like a tit for tat. So, man, I don't know. I don't really lean one way or the other on the quarterback. Right now, if I had to make a prediction, I would say Hauss, because of the Meacham factor, because from what we've heard, he's making more in NIL. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't think anyone really knows what these guys are making in NIL outside of like the big name 5 stars and Ohio State players. So I would lean Hauss is going to be the starter, but if Zane rolls out there for the first team against UT Martin, or if it's Hauss Haney rolling out there the first team UT Martin, I'm going to feel the same either way. But all right, that's the answer. That's the answer we have there. And then we'll watch the UT Martin game, and then we'll have a better idea of who the better quarterback is once we see with our own eyes. But I mean, everything I've heard, it's neck and neck right now.
That would be incredible, though, if Hauss is anywhere near the fast. I mean, he's rated like 4th in the video game, college football and speed. For a guy who's not like the named starter to be that rated that high in speed, it's kind of some crazy good news.
Even a slot receiver. That's what I say. Even a slot.
Use him somehow, some way. I mean, he looks like he's tied in, kind of not height, but definitely width.
I know, sure. He doesn't look fast with his body build at all. He does not look like he's just some speed demon.
Well, do you want to talk about the schedule here, of course, too, though? So, I mean, UT Martin, I'm going to pencil in the win, but I'm not going to pencil anything,
I'll say this. If they lose to UT Martin, I'll be checked out just like I was for that Arizona State game.
Yeah.
All right. I'm checking out after week 1.
I'll be praying the Thunder can bring it home again. I mean, yeah. August 29th, I'll be waking up going, all right, so when did the NBA season start here? When's the Kemper?
I'll have to drive across to Kansas and place the future on someone to win the national championship and just become a fan of them for the season.
Oh, yeah, this will be the South Carolina, Heisman winner or whatever year. Yeah. But then Oregon, of course. We go to Oregon, go to Eugene. They've got a brand new quarterback. Podcast coming out here just before yours and I's about the Oregon guy basically saying, hey, Mike Gundy, we give a ton of respect to Mike Gundy. I mean, it's good to still know that Oregon fans are still giving respect to Gundy. But what do you think about the game here? I mean, there's no way we're predicted to be anywhere close, I would think, in that match, no matter how we do week 1.
No, I would guess it's OSU would be 24-point underdogs in that ballpark, 27. Again, it's going to be a big spread. Man, I don't know, because Oregon's replacing a lot. And I've listened to some, national college football podcasts. I mean, the main ones like Josh Pay, Cover 3, the guys. And I've heard some people saying, hey, Oregon's going to be good. Oregon's going to be good. Like, they'll be in playoff contention most of the season, but they're like, there's a chance they might be a 9-3 football team. And if you're telling me they're a 9-3 football team, OSU could go in and win that game. No, obviously, there's also the chance that they go 12-0 once again. And, they baked him like they did last year. Dan Lanning has things rolling. I keep joking that OSU is going to win the game, trying to speak it into existence. I was like, what if OSU wins? Just what if they do? Like, crazier things about happen. There's been crazier ones that we've seen with OSU. Like, crazier things have happened than OSU going in and beating the Ducks in Eugene. I would not bet on it. I would maybe take the Pokes plus the points if it's that big. Mike Gundy, scheming something up back against the wall. But to me, that's just a game where if you lose 42-14, you're going to be upset in the moment, but you can also just be like, all right, like, let's see. Like, okay, we're not going to win the Big 12 this year. Like, you're not going to lose to Oregon 42-14 and win the Big 12. But 8-4. Let's see for 8-4. Let's try to improve, because back to the Hauss and Zane thing. Zane Flores last year, his eligibility didn't count, and Hauss Haney was a true freshman last year. So whoever the quarterback is, going to have 3 years of eligibility. So it's going to be, you can have the mindset of, let's build off of that. Let's go into, depending on how the Oregon game shakes up, I think it's going to be a small measuring stick about, all right, if you lose 42-14, all right, let's go for 8-4, finish top half in the Big 12, build for 2026. 2026 quarterback returning, coaching staff year 2, hit the portal again, this, that, the other. But if you go in there and you fight tooth and nail, I mean, you're going to be upset if you lose by 10 points because you lost, but you might wake up on Sunday and be like, all right, Tulsa's coming to town next week, there's a bye week in Tulsa, and the big game against Baylor at home in Stillwater. It's like, hey, if we beat Baylor September 27th and you're 3-1 going in October 1st, you take that with where the team is right now. So to me, the Oregon game is just more of a, we'll see. Like if they lose 42-14, they lose 44-14. If they win the game, they win the game and book your trip to Arlington already. That'd be an overreaction, of course, but that's what we're going to do. And if they lose by 10, you can wake up the next day on Sunday and be like, all right, let's see what they got. So to me, it's just more of like I don't even know how to put it in words. Just, it is what it is kind of thing. Unless they win, then that changes everything. But to me, the Baylor game is the one I have circled of like, where is this football team at? It's that Baylor game, September 27th. You have the early bye week, week 3, which I do not like. I do not like the week 3 bye week. Tulsa Friday night, and then Baylor, September 27th in Stillwater. Baylor is my prediction to win the Big 12 right now. That's who I'd take. I think their defense is elite. Sawyer Robinson coming back to quarterback. Their offense figured it out against Hopes last year is where they got their confidence at week 4, week 5 that game was. To me, it's that Baylor game is really the one I have circled of like, this is what we're going to know what this team is made of.
So what do you think about the Baylor game? I mean, do you think that there's a 50-50 shot we win, home opener? Gundy hasn't been great in Big 12 home openers as of late, but I mean, it's everything comes around, everything comes full circle. You've been coaching 20 years. You're not going to be great at everything. I mean, he's pretty darn great at non-conference opponents, but of course we've been playing Oregon State and some other non-conference opponents. They're not Oregon at Oregon. So that one I'm a little cautious of. But what do you think about the Baylor game?
I mean, 50-50. I mean, like I said, I don't know. I mean, right now, if I had to say right now, I'd probably say 55-45 favor of the Pokes. Home field. I mean, it's not, Baylor is my prediction to win the Big 12, but it's not like they're just head and shoulders. And we know how even the Big 12 is. I mean, it took Arizona State to the last 3 or 4 weeks of the season to get head and shoulders above everyone in the conference. But, for the first 8 weeks of the season, the Big 12 was neck and neck in competition. I mean, OSU was dog crap, but they were still, fighting and competing in a lot of games. So I would say 55-45 favor of the Pokes. But like I said, I mean, that's the game, in my opinion, where if OSU goes out and wins that game, you're going to be all right. Like, you're 3-1, 1-0 in conference play. That might be the toughest home game you have. We'll see what Kansas State is. We'll see what Iowa State is. But Baylor can be the toughest home game you have, and you won. That's going to be the measuring stick for me. So I think that's going to be the biggest early game of the year for the Pokes. I mean, if they win that game, then, I mean, it could be a fun season ahead.
Yeah, I got to think if we somehow beat Baylor, which somehow is not that crazy of an idea, beat Baylor, 4th game of the season, then all of a sudden the Arizona and Houston and Cincinnati games look like just W's you could pencil in right now. But if that Baylor game does not go the Pokes' way, and it's not that high scoring, which is the way I would think would go if we don't win. I mean, I think if it's high scoring, then who knows? That's a toss-up. But if it's a low-scoring game, 27-13 or something like that, there's just no way in my mind that we pull that one out. But if we don't, all of a sudden Arizona, Houston, Cincinnati's up in the air a little bit here of what happens. But no, I totally agree. I think that Baylor game is somehow it is winnable. 2 years ago, I remember playing K-State and going to that one going, all right, hopefully we can pull this one out. We lost to South Alabama, I believe, the week before, and it just doesn't seem great. And then all of a sudden we're in the Big 12 championship game that year with, granted, a really weird UCF game mixed in and a Bedlam win mixed in there as well. But yeah, what do you think as far as kind of those next 3 here of Arizona, Houston, Cincinnati? I mean, that to me is like that's where we get to a bowl game. If a bowl game is possible, it's kind of got to be 3-0 there almost.
Yeah, I mean, you brought up a point that is a really good one. If you win that Baylor game, you're 1-0 in conference play. Even if you lose 70-0 to Oregon, you win that Baylor game, you're 1-0 in conference play with Arizona, who I think is the worst team in the Big 12 this year. I don't think they're any good. I know it's on the road. Let's not act like that stadium's going to be more than half full.
No, it'll be hot as can be too. It's October in Arizona. Like, come on.
So you go to Arizona. I mean, you win the Baylor game. I'm assuming you're going to beat Baylor, or you're going to beat Arizona. Houston at home and Cincinnati at home. You have to win. No matter what happens, you have to win against Houston and Cincinnati at home. You just do. I think Houston's going to be improved, but you have to win that game. Cincinnati, I think, is going to be a little improved as well, but you have to win that game. Those are the two easiest conference home games you have. You have to win those two games. So if you win that Baylor game and then you go in and beat Arizona, man, you're looking at a 4-0 start in the Big 12. And that's when the fan base really starts getting, rowdy. You're in late October, you're 4-0 in conference play. You're like, all right, guys, if we go, 4-1, 3-2 the rest of the way, we might end up in Arlington, depending where things shape up. And that wouldn't be crazy to ask, to say, hey, you start 4-0 in conference, win three of your last five. And there's a chance, if the chips fall right, you'll end up in Arlington. Maybe not, probably not, who knows? But that's why I think the Baylor game is so big, because if you do win that one, those next three games, in my opinion, is the three easiest game stretch there is on that schedule. And I mean, I think even if you lose to Baylor, you have to win those three games, especially the two home ones against Houston and Cincinnati. So that's why that part of the schedule right there, where it's like, we're going to figure out fast. We're going to figure out before November. We're going to find out before Halloween's week's birthday or whatever it is, what this team is made of.
Well, I want to take a pause and go through the schedule for a second to ask you, what do you think about Gundy using the transfer portal so much this season versus just in years past period? I mean, do you think there's maybe a mindset shift that was either from kind of internally, or do you think that was just really just pushed on him at this point?
I think both. I think when we talked about, that day in September or December, I think that, he was obviously like, hey, you got to use the portal, because last year there's a lot of injuries, and they had a good, on paper, well, it looked like a good starting 22, but there's a lot of injuries. There's no depth to back it up, and you need depth in this day and age of college football, especially, with the extent, I'm not saying OSU's ever really going to be competing to go into deep playoff runs. But, when you play 16 games to win a national championship, you have to have depth. And if you play 14 or 15 games before that, you have to have depth. And OSU didn't have it last year. And you saw what it did to them in just 12 games, just a regular season. So I think that was pushed on him. Then I also just think that he hired this young coaching staff where, I forgot what the stat is, but every assistant coach outside of Meacham and Grantham, two coordinators, and then obviously Gundy, are 45 or 43 or something like that, and younger. There's no one over the age of 45 as an assistant coach. And so it's a young man's game right now. And there's a bunch of young men, as assistant coaches recruiting. I think Kenyatta Wright is the hidden gem right now of Oklahoma State football. I've heard, recruiting stories about Kenyatta and getting guys. Corey Patterson, the new running back coach. I remember he whenever he came in, he's like, hey, let's just recruit the best players in Oklahoma. Let's go get the best players in Oklahoma. Oklahoma, OU, will go after him. But if we make passionately go after them, and Mike Gundy's done that in the past, where OU will go after the in-state kids, and sometimes they'll get it because they're OU. But a lot of times OSU will go after them heavier because OU is not making kind of the same relation as them as they are a Florida kid or a California kid or a Texas kid, because that's where the high 4 stars and the 5 stars are. And so, they're going after the Oklahoma kids heavily, which I like. So I think it's just a mixture of everything, almost like the perfect storm when it comes to the portal. I think a lot of people on the outside are really underestimating how good of a portal class this has a chance to be. It was top 25 in the country for portal. Sounds like the front 7 is elite for Big 12 standards, especially, and deep. Wendell Gregory, the South Carolina transfer. We talked right before we started this podcast how we just can't remember names at all because they're all new. The kid that transferred from West Georgia, I think it was, he was going to be in his 4th year this year, playing defensive end, edge rusher. I've heard that this kid has the potential to be, an NFL, first or second round pick with how athletic he is, how much of a freak he is. So I think the front 7 could be very good, which makes me optimistic. for the defensive end or for the defensive side of the field. But yeah, I think with the portal and stuff, it was the perfect storm of Gundy getting a blistering from the higher ups, and then him just making the right hires of guys who know how to utilize it, and coaches and a GM and Kenyatta Wright that are really good at building relationships along the way. And then donors obviously sticking up to the plate somehow, some way of throwing in some money.
Yeah, I also just want to add is that when you're returning 20 starters, you're not going to go use the portal a bunch the year before. You make it to Big 12 championship game, you're not going to just go after and get a ton of guys in the portal, because a ton of guys are really going to go, I'm going to start over Nick Martin and Colin Oliver, or I'm going to be the backups to those guys, hoping they get injured. Seems like a bad place to be. But no, I totally agree. I think it's got to be 50-50 for sure. There is one team, though, that we know has used the portal a ton, and that's the next team I want to talk about here. It's the Texas Tech game. That Tech, to me, I'm picking them to win the conference. I think
okay.
Well, I think it's a ballsy pick, of course, here, but this is really just on their defense. I mean, their front four, front seven, supposedly is the best in the Big 12. Supposedly will just be incredible. Joey McGuire supposedly has got all of his Joeys and Jims now, and has got everyone souped up. I don't know how great they'll be at quarterback. It seems like they do not have the answer at quarterback. But what do you think of Tech this year and just using the portal so much? Do you think this has a good chance of working out? Because the Big 12 is just so even at the end of the day. This might push them over the edge, is my thought.
8-4 until proven otherwise. That's my Texas Tech theory, because I took him to win the Big 12 in 23. 8-4. I thought last year they're going to be pretty decent. 8-4. I mean, just 8-4 until proven otherwise for me. With that said, if they win the Big 12, if it's Texas Tech and Baylor, it's going to be my most, that makes sense result for me of this conference. I really do think Baylor's going to be really good. And Texas Tech, just on paper, you look at them and they have the best roster in the Big 12. It's just, it's like A&M, it's like Texas A&M, where it's like, I do believe in Texas A&M this year. I want to go to the window and take Texas A&M over 7.5 win. I want to do it, which I should, because I think they're going to go, I think they're going to be good. And also, if I don't think they are going to get, I think they're going to go 8-4. But it's like Texas A&M and Texas Tech are just the same to me. 8-4 and disappointing until proven otherwise. Like, I just can't get myself to do it. But I'm not going to disagree with anything you said, because if football God came down right now and said, hey, Texas Tech's going to be an all-in, they're going to win the Big 12 championship back. Makes sense. Like, I can totally make sense. They have the best roster in the Big 12. It's just, I just cannot trust them because they've done me dirty in the past.
Yeah, they never pull it out. They never do the big one. They never win it. But I guess, in my estimation here, we're going to see a butt bowl this year. We're going to see Baylor and Texas Tech. They don't face in the regular season, so maybe it'll be the Big 12 championship game, and that'll be where, kind of pulls it out here. There are the last 4 games of the season, though. I mean, at KU, don't love it in their new stadium. Got to say, schedule makers didn't do us a great job this year at all. Granted, they could have done us worse, but we also could have gotten to play West Virginia, who I don't think is going to be that great. But then you've got KU, K-State home, at UCF again. Don't know how we have to go play there before they come to us. And then Iowa State here. What do you think it is kind of in and out the schedule?
And I remember whenever the OSU schedules came out, January, February, whenever it did. And I remember, on the morning show, I'm like, it's kind of a gauntlet for Big 12 standards. And they're like, oh, no, it's not. And I was like, look, guys, no Big 12 schedule on paper is going to look daunting because there's not that blue blood. There's not that dominant premier team in there. But like Baylor, really freaking good. Houston, I think, is going to be very much improved. You should win. Cincinnati, you should win. I think it's going to be very much improved. Texas Tech, we just talked about them. Probably the best roster in the Big 12. Kansas. I mean, they went 5-7 last year, but by the end of the season, they were playing as good as anybody in the conference. They just started slow, and when they got healthy, they were really good. Kansas State, we know what that's a great program. UCF, I think, is going to be a little bit down, but that's on the road. And then Iowa State to close out. I mean, Baylor, Texas Tech, Kansas State, Iowa State. That's 4 of your 5 conference games of teams that are very much in contention to win the conference. And hell, I'd argue that, Kansas is in that fold as well as kind of like an underdog, surprise dark horse. So I think it's a really tough conference schedule. I do. Again, I'm a Big 12 homer, but I'm also kind of a Big 12 truther too, where it's like, I do think the Big 12 is disrespected on the national eye, but at the same time, you look at any team's schedule and you're like, oh, at first you're like, oh, that's not daunting because it's a bunch of, middle tier teams. But then you kind of look at it like it's an even playing field for most teams on everything. And then, you just add in the fact that 4 of your 5 games are against teams who I legitimately think could and should end up in Arlington. I mean, I think OSU will play 2 teams that are going to be in the championship this year. Like, I think on OSU schedules, the Big 12 champion and the Big 12 runner-up. I don't know who it is. My guess right now, I would take Baylor and the winner of Farmageddon in a couple days. I would just say that one because whoever wins that one's got a leg up. But whether it's Texas Tech, Kansas State, Iowa State, Baylor, like I think 2 of those 4 teams are going to be in the Big 12 championship. So it's a tough schedule, and those last 4 weeks are tough, are very tough.
Yeah, I really hate the fact that we get to face one team that played in the Big 12 championship last year and Baylor and Texas Tech, and then of course K-State and Avery Johnson just is never easy. I mean, last year I think our record against these same teams is just horrible. I know it is because we went 0-9, of course, but like it just
cumulative score with it.
Yeah. But if you sub out Arizona for Arizona State, it's the toughest schedule in the Big 12.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But then again, there's not one person who outside the Big 12 is saying, "Oh, such a hard schedule when you get to play Arizona, Cincinnati, and Houston all in a row, or Houston, Cincinnati all in a row." I mean, I get it. Cincinnati is not a name, but they were in the college football playoff. They've been in when we haven't. So it's kind of a weird line to draw there. I know it's a different head coach and Luke Fickell's still on gone, but let's say Gundy and staff here go 5-7. Don't make a bowl game. Do you think Gundy's gone? Either on his own, he wants to leave, or he's kind of pushed out the door if it's 5-7. 6-6, I think he stays. But
yeah, no, if he makes a bowl game,
that's kind of where I'm trying to draw the line here.
Because if you go, let's see, if you go 6-6, let's just say they lose to Oregon, that's 2-1 in conference, and then 4-5 in the Big 12, which is 4 wins improved from last year. Like that has to count for something. Like you have a losing Big 12 record, but Gundy's had losing Big 12 records multiple times before. So yeah, 6-6 he's in. 5-7. I think it's gonna factor on a lot of things. If you start 4-1 and you end 5-7, might be conversation. Where if you totally just crap down your leg to end the season. But if there's injuries, or whatever the deal is, I don't know. I've thought about that so many times, and my question is, I don't know. What do you think? Like, do you think if he goes 5-7, he's done? I don't think he's leaving. I will say this. I don't think he's leaving. I think he wants to have one last season where he wins 9 or 10 games before he hangs it up. I do. In my heart, I believe that he will not resign or retire until he has a very successful season. So it won't be his decision if he leaves.
So I'm an Oklahoma State lifer. I can barely remember the Les Miles years, but I mean, I went to college here for 6 years.
Yeah.
Like I got multiple degrees, but I've been a Gundy fan and Gundy truther and loyalist for forever. And I think he wants to ride off in the sunset. I think the sunset is either going to be this year he goes 7-6, and it's the toughest 7-6 season he's ever had. And he kind of looks around and goes, "Hey, you know what? All the sons are out of the house. Might as well go and retire now while they're still going to put my name on the building within the next 5 years." Or he's going to go, "Hey, you know what? We're 5-7. As long as they'll have me back, I want to win. I want to go out on, with my head held high." I think that's Gundy's just way too egotistical, rightfully so in my point, but he's just got way too much pride to go out on that note. He's either going to be shoved out the door, going 4-8, 5-7, whatever, or he's going to go, "You know what? 8-4 sounds about right. I've been here 20 plus years. Let's go ahead and just call it. At the end of the day, it's going to be a tough one because I don't see a way this team wins. This team as constructed wins 10 games, and they're not going to change before the season kicks off next week. So if there's a way for him to win 9 or 10, then I think this could be it. But also, I can easily see it in 2 more years. This one and one more. This one's kind of all right, we're reloading. We're 6-6, 7-6 with a bowl game win, hopefully, or whatever it may be. And then the year after that, Gundy's going, "All right, So listen, Meacham and Grantham are both my age or around my age. They can probably do this for a year, or OSU hires someone else completely different after I'm gone, and we're good. You know, it kind of figures it out. He doesn't want to leave us in a bad spot either.
No.
You know?
No, and my ultimate fan fiction, delusional, just college football craziness. That is my dream that I think is possible. Like I said, it's delusional, but I think it's possible. Is OSU goes 8-4, 9-3 this year, and everyone's like, that was a really good season. Like, you know, all right, you know, they lost to Oregon by 10. Texas Tech won the Big 12. They beat them by 3. They lost in double overtime at Kansas or something, or whatever the case is. They go 9-3, and you're right there in all these games. Hauss, Henne, Zane Flores, the quarterback, is phenomenal season. I think, like I said, I say my dream, but because it would be sad because in this scenario, it's Mike Gundy's last season, 2026. I think that if they have a really good, surprising season with really good quarterback play, and Mike Gundy looked at the boosters and say, hey, I have 1 or 2 years left. You know, I'm going to ride out this wave with Zane or Hauss, whoever the quarterback is. Let's go all in. Let's spend all of our money, all of it. And let's hit the portal like an MFer. And let's go win the Big 12 and win a college football game. And I'm going to go out on top. That's my ultimate, like, fan fiction, just craziness that I have. Because I do think that if Mike Gundy turns it around this year, the fan base is going to go all the way back in, because you know how this fan base is with Mike Gundy. He loses a game, everyone wants him out. He wins a game, everyone's just like, Mike Gundy's the best coach ever. Screw you haters. So if he goes 8-4, 9-3 this year, and he has a fan base behind his back again, or, you know, on his side again, and there is really good quarterback play in this scenario, the quarterback play has to be really good. Like, I'm saying, like, second team all Big 12, third team all Big 12, whatever it is, really good quarterback. And Mike Gundy's just like, let's go chips all out on NIL. Let's do it right now. And I'm gonna win us a Big 12 championship. I'm gonna go win us a college football playoff game, and then I'm gonna ride off into the sunset. And you guys are, you know, I'm gonna leave you guys in the best spot possible. That's like the fiction I have in my head. Now, again, it would be sad because if Mike Gundy retired after winning a Big 12 championship and winning a college football playoff game or something, I'm like, what the hell are you doing, man? Don't retire. Don't leave. But it would be the most fun season of all time at the same time.
Yeah, when the guy's still younger than my dad, I'm like, all right, he can keep coaching for 30 years. He's good. You know, I mean, like, yeah, when my dad's older than Gundy, I'm like, oh, my dad's doing just fine. Gundy can keep coaching for forever. Yeah. I haven't seen a fault neither. I thought you were warming up the entire time for Zach Robinson to come and take over. I thought that was going to be a Cowboy dream. I just don't think there's a chance, right?
I don't think there's a chance. Now, if he fails at the NFL and gets fired as an OC or something, then maybe. But even then, it's a maybe, because if you're a coach right now, I love Oklahoma State, you love Oklahoma State, but if I was a good coach right now, I'd much rather be coaching the NFL and not having to deal with the portal and NIL, and I want this just to show up to your campus money. I would not want to deal with that personally. The NFL is way more of a dream job than college football. 15 years ago, college football is a lot more of a dream job for me personally than the NFL. But where it stands right now, I don't think Zach Robinson wants anything. And also, Zach Robinson has no experience in recruiting or NIL. Like, we don't know if he's good at it at all. Like, we know he's a good coach. We know he's a good offensive coordinator and an offensive mind. But, I mean, everyone's just acting like he's going to come in and just be the next Mike Gundy. I don't know if that'd be the case necessarily. I think it's far stretch. I think that's, speaking of fan fiction, I think that's some fan fiction right there.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what got me on that mind track of thinking that, because I do think he would be truly just a bunch of fandom, excitement, but just fiction at the end of the day. We've seen Sean McVay disciples go off the rails and work and do everything in between. But as you said, he's yet to coach as be a head coach anywhere. You know what I mean? Like, just, he's been an OC, he's been around. Of course, he was a great quarterback. Of course, he was a former Cowboy. But do we want to always have the Mike Gundy guy lined up again? Or is that just delaying the inevitable, hey, well, what's Mason Rudolph up to in 20 years? You know, I mean, it's like, it just seems like to me that would just be kind of, all right, we're playing a script at this point.
You know what else just makes, speaking of coaching and Mike Gundy replacements, which we hope is a long time down the road, because that means OC has success. But whenever Mike Gundy inevitably is done, hopefully with a very positive retirement and a cheer out the door. Everyone's like, we got to go hire a guy that's going to be around for 20 years. I'm always like, no, we don't. I've always said the same thing for basketball. If Steve Lutz gets a Kentucky job in 4 years, are we going to be mad at him for leaving us? You bet. That's college fans for you. Like, yeah, but that means that OSU probably made a Sweet 16 or something, or maybe won a Big 12 tournament or a Big 12 regular season or something. You're telling me if the next coach for Oklahoma State football comes in, but he's only the coach here for 3 years, but then Alabama wants him, that means he did a lot of really good things. And you know what? Go hire the next guy. So I think my biggest pet peeve with the next coach is like, we have to get someone who's going to be here for 20 years because that's what Mike Gundy did. No. Go get the best coach possible. And if he leaves for a blue blood job, then thank you, brother, because that means you at least got to the college football playoff and won a game probably. If Alabama wants you, or if Texas wants you, or whoever the big school is wants you, yeah, I will sign up for that. Like, I don't care if the next coach is here for 3 years or 40 years. If he wins, he wins.
Yeah, I mean, or LSU, they got Les Miles. So, you know, I'm in that script before, and it turned out to be, I think Les Miles is still talked incredibly fondly of around Oklahoma State campus, Clearwater.
Yeah, and they'd have more success than what Les Miles did at the time, because Les Miles turning around the 90s, early 2000s OSU football team into a, 9-4, team that beat Oklahoma twice in their big time heyday was, that's an average season at OSU now going 8-4. That's an average season. Back then, like, that was unreal. Now, like, that turnaround would be like going 12-2 or something. Like, that's what the standard would be for a coach to be looked at by those programs. Is like, oh, they went 8-4 at Oklahoma State 3 years in a row. We don't want, like, that's mediocrity. Back then with LSU or with Les Miles, like, that was extraordinary for Oklahoma State, especially at the time where Oklahoma football was and where, facilities were and what Oklahoma State was coming off of. Now it's like, if someone had the equivalent to 2001 to 2004 Les Miles success at Oklahoma State, now, like, that success would be 3 10-win seasons in 4 years, a Big 12 championship, and a playoff appearance. Like, yeah, sign me up for that every single time.
Oh, 110%. Well, Tyler, thanks so much for joining here on the latest episode of the CGA Tour podcast. If you're not already, go follow at Tyler's Takes on Twitter/X. And where else anyone should go and find you? I mean, of course, 98.1, but you probably already know that at this point.
Yeah. No, I mean, you can follow me on Twitter for sure. That's really where I post my content. Everything else is more personal stuff, but I'm public on there as well. So if you want to follow me, but you're not going to be seeing any solid takes or rants on there. That's for sure.
All right. Well, definitely loving the OSU fandom, of course. Love that, got to tell some of those OU guys on air what's up in Stillwater.
Yeah.
So thanks so much for joining again, and catch you again soon.
Hey, Cowboy fans. Today's episode is brought to you by Oakley Burklow, your go-to independent insurance agent and proud OSU alum. Oakley helps with home, auto, life, and business insurance, working with multiple top-rated insurance companies to find you the right coverage at the right price. Licensed in Oklahoma and Arkansas. Call 918-280-9068 or email oakley.burklow@connectmyinsurance.com. Personal service, honest advice, and a fellow poke helping you protect what matters most.